Tonight on Friday Night Fright Night, we're crashing the wildest Halloween party of the 80s.
A haunted mortuary, a demon loose in the halls, and lipstick gag you can't unsee.
It's Night of the Demons from 1988. Let's raise some hell. Welcome back to Friday Night Fright Night. I'm GC from Face the Movies.
And I'm Lee from Cinema Whiplash. Tonight we're talking VHS sleepover royalty, Night of the Demons.
Practical effects, outrageous kills, and pure Halloween energy. We're breaking down why this cult fave still slaps on spooky season. Now, guys, spoiler disclaimer as well. First half spoiler free. Not even first half, but like I would say the first few minutes is going to be spoiler free for anyone new to the film.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and give you a little warning before we delve into the full Demon Mayhem spoilers.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Now, a quick little film synopsis. Anybody that's hasn't seen this film or it's been a long time, again, 1988, very long time. So we're going to go ahead and update you guys. Now, this film pretty much takes place on Halloween night. A group of teens break into an abandoned mortuary known as Hull House to throw a party. A seance unleashes a demonic force that possesses the guests one by one. Survive the night or become part of the house. Now, I mean that sums it up. It's interesting film. Again, 1988. A lot was happening with horror during the time.
Yeah.
Now, we have an interesting cast on here. A lot of these actors, I'm not very actually, to be honest, I'm not really familiar with any of them. Just recently, this was my first time watching the film. But before we do dive into it, we're gonna do a quick little icebreaker. We'll do a fun one. We'll do a serious one between me and Lee. And if you guys want to join, comment your answers for the icebreakers below. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, comment below. But Lee, do you want to start with the fun one
Yeah.
first, or okay, go for it,
Sure.
brother.
All right. So, fun icebreaker. If you're invited to a party in an abandoned mortuary, what's your excuse to bail on it?
Dude, it's gonna be hard because I think I would go. Like after all the horror movies that I've seen, I think I would go and just hang out. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be one of those people that get trapped into that haunted mortuary. What about you?
Yeah, I think I would be cuz in real life you're kind of just not thinking about these things whatever happens. So, I would
Yeah.
probably go too. I would probably go. I'm not a big fan of things like that either, like walking around cemeteries too long. Like it's not because I'm scary. I just, there's people, passed away there. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But for the most part, I think I would go just to experience something new, have fun, and especially if it was took place in the 80s or 90s, I would definitely want to go.
Dude, that would have been a blast, man. I mean, and no, I get the respect aspect for sure. Like that's one of those places where you don't, you wanna respect the people that passed and stuff. But I mean, if it's like inside the building itself where there's no cadavers and nothing like that, it's not like Return of the Living Dead style where that chick's running
Yeah.
around through a cemetery naked and stuff. So I think we'll definitely keep our clothes on and be more respectful. Uh, but now let's move on to the serious question of the evening. Is Night of the Demons best enjoyed as a campy party horror, or does it still work as a legit scare machine?
Oh, I think it always just worked as a campy horror movie. I don't think even in 80, what's this, 88, this
Yeah.
movie was ever scary. I think if you watch this movie on VHS, let's say you have a younger brother and you were like a teen and your brother was like 8 or 9 and that's scary to them for sure. But I think for the most part, is as an R-rated movie, watching a 17 and up, I think this is just pure camp fun for every audience, teens and people in their 20s. So yeah, for sure for me, campy horror. What about you?
Dude, I think for me it's the same thing, campy horror. I mean, thoroughly thought like watching the film. There were moments where I was like, "Damn, that's kind of creepy. That would suck." But I didn't feel like throughout the movie I was like there was moments where I was like scared or anything like that, but definitely had the creep factor. Obviously, any opportunity you get in this film, there's boobs. Like it's just you
Yeah.
can't go wrong with an 80s movie, horror movie. There's like there's always going to be more boobs. I even want to argue and say that back then I felt like there was more boobage use in these films that even there is in modern times now. But it was just any girl that was in this film, I feel like was nude at some point or another. Like it was just funny. Like it was just like, of course, you're eventually in a little bit, you're gonna end up seeing her either fully naked or somehow partially. But I mean, that's how it
Yeah.
was back then. You know, it was fun times, party times.
It was part of it. Like, well, as I go into the cast, we'll mention that. But we got Kathy Podwell, I believe it's pronounced, or Podwell. She
Podwell,
plays
yeah, yeah.
Judy. She plays Judy, and she's the final girl, right? But she doesn't really come out naked. But there's a scene in the beginning where she's getting dressed, and it almost feels on purpose that she shows her butt. Like she's
Yeah.
bending down, and the thing is covering her, like her top is covering her butt, but she raises it to the camera so her butt shows. Obviously, I'm sure it's not the actress's choice. It was probably the creator's choice to have her show her butt. But that's the only thing she does show. But yeah, we do have a good amount of nudity in this movie. Amelia Kincaid, that plays Angela. She's mostly known for the Night of the Demons movies. She did come out in Night of the Demons 2 and 3. She always plays Angela. Fun fact for me, and Night of the Demons Part 2 is my favorite. Um, we got 80s royalty in a way, horror royalty with Linnea Quigley, because she has been in a lot of horror movies. You were just talking about Return of the Living Dead. She's the punk girl in that movie. So
What?
the lipstick girl, yeah, she's the punk girl that comes out naked throughout the whole movie. She was in the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. She had an appearance on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Uh, you have them closer in your mind right now because I watched them about 2 years ago, but I can't remember spot her in part 4.
Huh.
So I don't know if she pops into your mind on that. Um, she was in Savage Streets, and she even did she even came out in the Night of the Demons remake back in 2009. She played like a ballerina lady. So yeah, she's been in a ton of stuff in the 80s. She was known for, yeah, she did always do a lot of nudity, funny enough, in her movies. But out of everyone in this cast, I had to mention her credits because I know horror fans are gonna remember her. She stands out till this day. She does a lot of horror conventions and stuff. So I just wanted to highlight her a little bit more.
Well, dude,
Um,
real quick, I want to ask you. Sorry to interrupt. I just
no,
because before I forget. So you mentioned there's a remake in 2009.
yeah,
When I was looking to make the thumbnail, I saw a poster with Edward Furlong. Is he
yeah.
in that movie? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he is. He is. I remember since I've been a fan of this movie since I was a teenager. I looked for I not so much looked forward to, but I definitely kept my eye on when that remake came out, and I did watch it. Only saw it one time, didn't really like it, but yeah, and I think Shannon Elizabeth from American Pie has a appearance in
Oh,
it, but I don't remember who plays Angela. We kind of have to do a little more research on it, but yeah, that movie exists, and Edward Furlong is in it, and this was Edward Furlong when he was
dude.
already a big guy.
Dude, that's interesting, man. Okay, so that's cool to know. And I'm glad that you mentioned that about Amelia playing Angela in all three films because I love consistency like that. And I
Yeah,
haven't seen part 2 and 3. So I'm even more excited now knowing that she's reprising her role in those.
yeah, and 2 and 3 were I think I know for a fact 3 was straight to video, but I think 2 might have had like a very limited run or maybe straight to video also. This one's the only one that came out theatrical, and even this movie had a very small theatrical window that was only released in New York and Detroit for some reason.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll get more into that later on, but just to finish off the cast, we got Alvin Alexis as Roger. We got Hal Halvins as Stooge, the guy with the pig nose. We have Lance Fenton as Jay, Bill Gallo as Sal Romero, and Jill Tarishta as Franny. And I think there's a couple more out there because this movie has a very small cast. It's only 10 people in the party, and they're pretty much the whole cast outside of
Yeah.
a grumpy old man and his wife. And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that reminded me of Trick or Treat, the one that Arrow released. Like it
Yeah.
just that happens, but we'll definitely talk about it. Dude, I want to mention that Hal Havens as Stooge. Do you remember the Ninja Turtles, like the pig? Um, like
Yeah,
the I like from the cartoons.
right.
He reminded me of him. Like the way he acted in this film and stuff. Like his personality really matched that character from the old school cartoon Ninja Turtles. So I wanted to bring that because he had the pig nose too. So it was
Right,
just kind
right.
of funny, and he's a big dude. So I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, he could have played him in the like in the 80s live, like if they made a live action movie back in the 80s instead of in the even in the 90s, if they just
Dude,
it's so
it,
simple, just with the nose, maybe a little more different with the hair, and
perfect. It would have been a perfect casting for that. Absolutely. But
yeah.
dude, listen. This is you've seen this movie for a while. You've seen them all. Obviously, you own them. It was my first time. I want, if you want, man, if you want to go ahead and kick off the discussion question section. Just because
Yeah.
again, dude, I know you got a lot more experience with this one. I got a lot more to say.
Yeah, no, and I'm very interested in to see, kind of like we did last week, just to see how this movie stands up for an audience in 2025. You're the perfect example because this was your first time, so I kind of am interested in seeing how the nostalgia factor doesn't really apply to you. So how did you come
Yeah.
into this with bright, like with brand new eyes to it? So do you think that this is like a perfect Halloween night watch for you, like, now that you've seen it this for the first time, or is it like a one and out?
Dude, I absolutely believe it's gonna be a staple for me every year for Halloween. I thought it was a perfect Halloween film. Just this week, I've actually been trying to really sit down and hone in and make a list because I'm working on a video for my channel about like some movies that I recommend for Halloween. And I was really thinking, what are real Halloween movies like that take place in Halloween in the films? And this is just one of them. It's perfect between obviously you have like this abandoned mortuary. You have like the whole party thing on Halloween night. You have demons coming up and they could only be out for one night. The costume type situation, like it just felt like a fun, well, up until everything hits the fan, but like it just felt like a Halloween party gone wrong. I definitely watching it in 2025, and you're right. I mean, I was born in 87. So for me, there's not really a nostalgia aspect to it. However, one thing that I do love is 80s music. So that's one thing watching this film. I was like, dude, I love the soundtrack for it. I thought the music was fantastic. Um, just the way everybody acted, seeing that Mustang,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, gorgeous car. It was just fun, man. Absolutely fun. Definitely interesting watching in this day and age.
Yeah. No, I can well, I'm glad that it still holds up. It still holds up to a new audience. I think you also come from the background of just being born in the 80s, so something like this might be more forgiving than, let's say, a 2025 someone that's like 13 watches it for the first time. They might not see through the camp and just kind of be like, nah, this might be a little corny for me, and I'm out. It could happen. I know there's plenty of teens that would like it too, so it's 50-50. But for me, it's a movie that funny enough, this is probably the only movie that takes place on Halloween that I don't feel the need to watch on Halloween. I could watch it. I've watched it at different times. Like I've seen it in October before. On Halloween day, I tend to go for obviously Halloween or Trick or Treat are two that have become more of a staple for me. But what's funny is that this movie came out on October 14, 1988, and we're filming October 15. So hey, we're like a day away from the anniversary of the movie, so that's kind of cool. And I'm glad it came out
Mm,
in October. I always hate when Halloween movies come out, not in October. Like the Halloween franchise, they haven't always come out in October. That just makes
yeah.
no sense to me.
No, that's awesome, man. Like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, hey, listen, we're celebrating the anniversary. And then tomorrow, which is Thursday, because we record every Wednesday. We'll release it like a little bit early. And dude, it's right on time, man. That's awesome. But I did want to say something as far as what we touched upon. Um, saying like it's true, like a 13, 15, 18-year old, even a 20-year-old watching this movie in this day and age. I think it would be a little bit hard for them to relate just because society like certain things were completely polar opposite back then. Like like in the party, for example, right? Obviously, we always bring this up. Technology is one big one. There's no cell phones. There's nothing going on there. They're listening to like a radio and stuff like that. There's no internet. There's no nothing. Even if they want to call for help, there's no cell phone in sight, no landline, and nothing. Um, but I do want to say that it's also the dynamic, right? Like I feel like during the 80s in particular, we noticed that in a lot of these films where it's like you have a bunch of horny teenagers and they're not embarrassed to say it, and they're just kind of they're trying to hook up with each other either in front of each other or in a different room, but it was a very big different thing. I think standards for everybody around that time is they seemed pretty low. Like people were just like, you know what, let's just hook up, as we see in all these movies. So somebody like, being 20 or in their teens or mid 20s watching this film now, they're kind of be like, that's not true. That girl's not going to hook up with him in a casket, or um, like girls this day and age wouldn't do that. Or it's
Right,
like
right.
they're like they can't relate to the non-technology existing and the cars not having AAA and just stuff like that. So it is an interesting concept for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of leads to the next question, which I guess is kind of a little bit answered already, but like, does the movies camp amplify, or do you think it undercuts the actual horror of the movie?
Um, I think it was perfect. I think it was a perfect amount of camp, especially during that time. During that time, it's like either you go full horror, like Nightmare on Elm Street style, or even though Friday 13th had more camp, but like again,
Mhm.
original Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984, it was marketed as pure horror. Like there was the next evolution in horror. Um, and even though there's a few lines wisecracks here and there, it's mainly horror. With this one, it's you do have the camp, you do have the festivities of it because it is Halloween, and it's supposed to take place in a party, so it's more of that. Because imagine the party was kind of too serious, it'd be boring. But I
Yeah.
thought I thought it was a perfect blend. Honestly, I mean, I've seen so many campy movies, and I thought it was perfect. Well, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think the camp is needed for something like this. I don't think this is a movie that needs to take itself serious. I think
Yeah,
most movies that, if you think about it, most movies that deal with demons, not zombies, but demons, tend to have camp in them because it's just a little goofy, but it's fun, you know. Even the Italian movies, the demons ones have camp in them. The movie that we've already done an episode on and we love, Tales from the Crypt Demon Night, has some camp, but also it's just has some funny moments if you want to just call it comedy outside of just camp. Because I do feel like that movie has much stronger acting than this one. But I think what brings campiness to this movie too is that you don't have you're in a low budget and you don't have the strongest actors. I enjoy them, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking
yeah.
on them as actors, but the dialogue is a little bit, you know, not there all the time for them, so it's not always just the actor's fault. So yeah, I think well. This is what makes the movie stand the test of time, is the fact that they kind of were winking at the audience saying, "We know this is camp. We're doing this for you guys just to have a good time. This is a movie you throw on with your friends on around Halloween time. You could even have it in the background if you've seen it a few times and play some board games or to have a few drinks and just watch it and have a good time for sure."
Dude, it's perfect for that because I love the fact that directors, actors in these type of films, they know what they're making. They don't take themselves serious, and I think when they shed that what is that word? Like when they shed that concern of doing such a spectacular performance, it's when they're actually able to do a good job. They don't have that pressure. And I mean, when a movie comes out like this and you're already acknowledging that it's campy, it's really hard for it to fail because people already know what to expect. And again, during those times, it was a lot of it. I mean, during the 80s, there was a lot of films like this with a lot of nudity. I mean, it was fairly new. I mean, I think Friday the 13th was one of the franchises that really sparked that whole teens hooking up and slasher type situation. And because of that, people were like, there's a killer, there's nudity, there's, all this stuff. And it's very intriguing. It's new and exciting. So I think this movie did that pretty well. And I mean, dude, practical effects, you have like crazy shit. Like yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, they play on all those things a lot. The campiness, the nudity. I mean, just in the beginning when the girls are stealing stuff, and then the girl's just showing her butt the whole time, and these guys are just staring at her butt while Angela's just stealing everything and just alcohol and chips and basically funding the whole party. So they would just stare. That's just I thought that was a pretty funny gag, and it begins the movie that way, and it kind of just shows you what you're in for, what type of movie you're in for outside of the kind of cool like little intro with its animated too that I wanted to mention. They used to do that a lot in the 80s and 90s, have like these animated intros that keep you interested as all the credits are rolling in the beginning. So yeah, I mean I think the movie did from the first minute already kind of tells you what kind of movie it's going to be, and if you're in, you're in. If you're out from the beginning, you're probably going to have a bad time. Just not going to this movie's not for you.
Dude, it's that I mean, I love the animation. I love when they're creative with that type of stuff. They play with different ideas. That intro scene, it's true when the girl, she's like, what was her name again? Was it Suzanne? The one that's
Suzanne, that's
was
showing her
it
butt. Yeah, yeah.
okay, so yeah, because she's like, guys, just to paint the picture for you, if it's been a while and you haven't seen it or you haven't seen the film at all, this girl is wearing like this little like skirt type dress outfit, and she's full blown bending over. So I mean, you're seeing everything from behind. Obviously, it's she's wearing underwear, so there's coverage, but you're pretty much use the imagination. And these two clerks are just there with their mouths open, and the
Mhm.
convenience store just dead, like not even blinking. They're just staring the entire time, and it's so funny because it really highlights us like as men, like how our brains kind of work, where we're just like, oh, girl, but and then we shut down, and it's just we're just staring there kind of pretty much there's nothing
Zombies.
yeah, we're just zombie when there's nothing behind the eyes. And the fact that the girls were so smart and they took advantage of that, and it was it's funny because it's so innocent, that scene, right? Because she's literally just bending down and that's it, and the guys are just done, they're done for. And then the other girl's just kind of laughing and throwing stuff in the bag, and then there's people shopping around her,
Yeah, they
and
don't care.
nobody's noticing. Everybody's minding their own business. No, there's no freaking negative Nancy's there. Like it was just very funny. It felt very wholesome, and everybody got something out of it. The guys got a little peep show out of it. The girls got free stuff. It was like a bartering situation going on. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun, man. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Yeah, they had to pay the girls had to, like to get something for free. They were like, "Ah, we'll show out just a little skin." It's not.
Yeah.
It was kind of, yeah, like you said, she was wearing underwear, so it wasn't like fully revealing or anything. But moving on to the favorite kill or gag in this movie, there's a couple cool ones. Obviously the lipstick scene is very popular. This is what this movie is known for, because that was such a weird thing to happen, and the practical effects were pretty damn good in that. There's also the crematorium oven. There's also the ending. Which one stood out for you, or if not, something else from the list?
Dude, I think that lipstick singing was very confusing and very weird, man. Because as I'm watching the movie, you could definitely see that like those weren't her boobs, right? Those were like it was practical effects. Just because it changes, you see her topless before, and then you see different, and you're like, huh,
Yeah.
they don't look right. There's something going on here. And then when she pushes the lipstick into her nipple, and like it disappears, it was like, what the hell was that? And then obviously you see him, like the guy, he I don't know if he was her boyfriend, but it was Judy's boyfriend, or the guy she's dating, but
Yeah,
he
I think his name's Jay or something.
was
Yeah,
it
he's
yeah, it was Jay. Okay.
yeah, the main guy. Well, yeah, we'll get into him in a little bit, but yeah, it was I think it was him that sees. Yeah, because then she gouges his eyes out later on.
Dude,
So
yeah, that I think to me that was the most brutal one, just because anytime a scene has to do with eyes being gouged out like that just freaks me out, man. Like it's just so uncomfortable. I can only imagine how much that hurts. So I think that was one that really stuck out. I mean, that whole interaction. I mean, I understand now why it's like a very popular scene, and not to mention it's like she's on top of him, so they're in the middle of sex, and imagine, dude, you're like he's still inside this girl, and his eyes are being gouged out, and it's just such a disaster, dude. What a way to go. I think it's horrible.
Yeah.
But what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, Jay, he's kind of a douche because in the
Yeah.
movie we're introduced to Sal in the beginning, where he goes to Judy's house, and his her little brother is kind of a, well, I don't like to talk bad about child actors, but he's pretty bad in it. But he's like giving him a hard time because she's not with him. I guess later on we find out they did date before. And then Jake comes, picks her up, so he's the date, but he ends up being like a guy that just wants to get laid, and Judy for some reason is not that into it, so she's like no, and then this is what leads to that scene with the lipstick where he walks in, and it's funny because also she's wearing like she puts the makeup around her face, like the lipstick goes from her lips all the way around her face. She creates like a mask out of it, or she just paints herself all over her face, and she looks terrible. But he's like, oh no, your makeup looks fine. Like he doesn't care. He just wants to get laid. For me, the first time I saw the movie, it was the same thing. I was like, "What is going on here?" It's almost like a body horror. That's the only body horror moment in the movie, and for them to come up with that gag of just like, why would she just, this just crazy. It's funny though because if you ever decide to watch the sequels, that lipstick thing actually shows up a little bit. So that's all I'll say. But yeah, I think that was probably my favorite scene, watching it as when I was younger. There's this one scene though, and it's not a kill. I just want to mention it right quick. There's a really cool scene that was shot because I was like, this movie is kind of it's well directed, but the scene that stands out the most is when the mirror breaks and the whole guy, everyone in the party is standing over
Oh
the
yeah.
broken pieces of the mirror, and they each get a little piece with their face on it, and they're all talking. And this, I just thought, man, that was a really cool scene, very well shot. Just to pick it out, it's very artistic shot for a movie that's it's kind of a cheesy fun movie, but I was like, damn, this shot really doesn't almost fit the movie, but it's really good. So I did want to point that shot out because it's probably it's my favorite shot of the movie, and outside of the crazy lipstick part too.
Dude, that scene that you're talking about, I thought it was fantastic, and I'm wondering if that was, like, CGI or what that was because it was, like and I also wonder how long it took to film because that was absolutely perfect. I
Yeah.
remember thinking the same thing. I was like, that shot seems like it would be for a more bigger movie, like a more high budget film, so that was pretty incredible that they pulled that off. I there is one other, favorite scene of mine that was kind of like it made me almost like flinch a little bit. It's that scene where obviously we have our final girl and, I'm trying to remember the dude's name, if it was, Roger, I think, that
Oh yeah.
when they're trying to get over that the fence and they're climbing using the barbed wire, and
Right.
the entire time they have their hands, you see the camera pan in and you see their hands on the barbed wire, they're putting their weight on it, it's old rusty stuff. And I just kept thinking, dude, I was like, out of the entire film, I was like, that to me felt visually the most painful because I don't know if you've ever touched barbed wire before even by accident, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not fun, and I could only imagine them putting on their full-blown weight and using it as a rope, like, it's just dude, it was brutal, man, to watch that.
Yeah, and shout out to Roger too. He was a little annoying in the movie for my taste because he's always complaining, he's always crying. But at the same time, appreciate the movie having the having him survive. This the actor came out and talked about this. I think this might be the first black actor to survive a horror movie all the way to the end. So that's really cool. And he, even though he kind of leaves Judy behind a couple of times, he does at the end come back through the wall and helps her get out. So at the end, he is a hero. So shout out to him. And I also want to say that even though his acting wasn't that great, we also had a Hispanic actor in this, Billy Gallo, and his character starts off as kind of, I like that there's a little bit of progression in his character. Like he starts off as a dick, and you're like not rooting for him, but later on he does help Judy a lot throughout the movie, and to the point where he dies for her. Like he throws Angela off the second floor, and he lands on a stake that goes through his heart, to save her. So they do. I think they do a pretty good job with a lot of the male characters in this movie outside of a stooge. Because I have no problem with the word bitch. Like if you're just saying it normal, but this guy's just calling all the girls bitches all the time, and he's just saying it in such a spiteful, mean way. I was like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah, dude, that's one thing that I didn't, glad you bring that up. That was one thing that I absolutely hated, especially in that scene in the beginning where,
The
Stooge is
car?
in the yeah, in that car scene, and it was just felt like, dude, like you're like I there's only certain ways to be able to use that word where it's
Yeah.
not like you get what I'm saying? Like it's just but like calling somebody directly in the way he was saying it too, it was just unnecessary. And I get it. They were trying to make his character not likable. They were trying to make him annoying, but they definitely succeeded in that. It was just like, dude, especially during that time. I mean, guys, I feel like during the 80s, they were more gentlemen than even today, man. There were a lot more, during those times. You grew up more, close knit families, and men were kind of more taught, the pillar of like you're supposed to be the man in the house and all this stuff. And obviously, it wasn't like that for everybody, but this dude clearly was just like, man, like, all right, man, I get it. You said it once, but it's like throughout the film, it's like, dude, you deserve it for sure, man. You should have been one of the first people to go.
Yeah, he calls his what I thought was his girl, but it's not really like just a friend in the car with her a lot. And then he does call I think Suzanne that once too. But yeah, it's in the way he says it. There's no love to it, like a playfulness to it. It's very like you're a bitch, like
Like an
so yeah.
abusive way, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. I was like, then because I mean we watch a lot of these 80s horror movies, and there's obviously things that have aged and people don't use anymore and stuff, but I don't remember seeing I mean, men probably would call a girl a bitch in movies before, but I don't know, the way he did it was just so I just it felt weird and very hateful, just kind of out of the blue. Um but moving on to Angela, I want to talk about Angela a little bit.
Yeah.
As an 80s horror icon, since she had 3 movies and the same actress came back, what do you think sets her apart from the other slashers of the era, which we had a lot of great ones in the 80s?
Dude, I think, her character arc, where she starts off as kinda, like, spooky and this and that, and it turns out to be just like a front, and then she's one of the first that's like, "You know what? Let's get the hell out of here," type situation, and then of everybody, she's the one that ends up getting possessed and, being, like, I guess, like, the main demon and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought she was a natural at it. Like, she was so good at being evil, especially, like, the dancing scene and everything. I thought she was doing very great, but I think what set her apart from other horror icons was just how good she was at incorporating, like, the serious scariness, but then also, like, a little bit of, like, a light humor. It's almost like the beginning of Freddy Krueger, right? When he first starts off, where it's, like, mostly dark, but then there's, like, a little humor in there. So she really reminded me of him, but, like, in a female form, and obviously as a demon. But that's I don't know, that was my take. Again, I gotta rewatch this movie at least another 2 times to get, like a real feel with it. But, yeah, that was it. How about you?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned because when the demons first come, the first person that gets taken is Suzanne, and then she kisses Angela, and it's almost like the main demon was gravitated towards Angela because she was, more darker goth girl, and it's like this is the body that I want to be in and be the main and stay with her. And
Yeah.
Suzanne just became more of another puppet. So that was interesting. I think it works. I think she has the look. The actress has this special look about her that it's between like kind of like like you can see her in a movie where she plays like the ugly duckling or whatever, but then she also has an attractiveness to her, and I think that's kind of what brought it together. I thought she did a really good job playing Angela. I think it's nice to have a female villain, so that's what I really stands out the most is that most of the ones from the 80s, like you got Chucky, you got, Michael Myers. Well, Michael Myers is more started in the 70s, Freddy, Jason. But anyways, so I think that's what makes her stand out. The fact that we got a female one and we got and yeah, she did a really good job with it. And she did come back for the sequels, which was cool. I don't remember who played Angela in the remake though. I'd have to watch that again.
Dude, imagine they would've brought her to do the remake. That would've
Yeah,
been
I
pretty
mean with
interesting.
makeup, I mean, with makeup, she could pull it off. I mean, look, I guess these kids are supposed to be teenagers, but none of them look like teenagers. Once
Not at
again,
all.
I mean, even Linnea Quigley, which she's the most popular one here, playing Suzanne. She said that she was. I read that she didn't want to do the movie because she was like, I'm not gonna get it. I'm too old for this part. I'm not gonna play no teenager. She was deeper into her 20s by then, but she got cast, so she's like, I'm not gonna turn down a role.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I think that's just the way it was in those days, especially. But also, like we've said this before, that they like to cast older, a little bit older, so they can work all day and not have to cut after 4 hours.
Yeah, they're like, "You know what? Let's just throw some makeup on him. You're 17 for tonight." And it's like they're like, "What? I'm 25." It's like, "No." Dude, it is funny to see these movies. And speaking of a Halloween movie, the original Halloween, I was recently rewatching it about a week ago, and the entire time I'm thinking, like, none of these girls look like they're in high school, especially Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis has always looked like a mom, and she
Yeah.
has, like, that mom look, and watching her, hearing her voice, I was like, "Dude, how old was she? In her mid-20s or something?" And I look it up, and I think she was, like, 18 or 19 at the time, and
Yeah.
it's just funny too because back then, people looked so much older. Like, I look at a lot of these actors, obviously, when you're balding or you're bald, you look a little bit older because of it. But a lot of these actors, like a lot of these dad roles, I'll look up their age and they're younger than me and like than I am now, than us. And it's just crazy. I'm like, that dude was 28 or that dude was 30. It's like, how does he look wait like he could be our dad? And it's just crazy back then between how people aged and it's just yeah, and it was never believable for me seeing them in a high except Nightmare on Elm Street. I definitely believed like seeing Johnny Depp. I was like, yeah, he could be like 17. He could be a senior. Heather. It was like definitely her friend. I mean, they were one of the few horror people that actually made me believe like, yeah, they could be in high school for sure. But
Yeah.
dude, let's move on to the practical effects and the makeup because that to me was something that shined in this film. I thought it was amazing. I felt like it wasn't overly used. I know some body horror movies, older movies, they could go a little balls to the wall, but with this one was fantastic. I what how did you feel about it, man? Like, did you feel like it it still holds up today? Especially because was there CGI in this?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And from watching it again, I didn't see anything. I think it holds up really well. Outside of, I think it's funny, the makeup still looks great. But the stunt of Judy hanging from the roof all the time, and I see her stunt double's wig. The wig is terrible. It's always like you guys get such a good job with the makeup, but you can't find a wig that looks real. That's the only thing. Like the wig part bothered me a little bit, but that happens a lot of movies. And the stunt double, you could tell that it switches to her stunt double. But outside of that, I think the makeup effects were great. I like the fact that sometimes the demons just have a little bit on with the teeth, and then sometimes their face looks worse and the teeth are bigger, and like there's like a progression of it that the changes. It's not always exactly the same change, so
Yeah.
that's really cool. So yeah, I think it holds up, man. Like most '80s movies, even especially this movie being on a 1.2 million budget. It's a pretty low budget even for the time. So I think a lot of it went into that for sure, and looks great, holds up
Yeah,
for
no,
you.
dude, it was incredible. It's funny that you say that. Or like, I watch a stunt double be just a guy hanging, and it's just
Yeah.
like him wearing a wig. Like, it's funny because they used to really do stuff like that back in the day. Now they try to keep it a little bit more like matching the gender, but back then it was like, hey, you know what? We got to do what we got to do.
Hmm.
But no, yeah, I think that the practical effects were fantastic. Definitely hold up. I can't wait to watch this film on 4K and see the difference. I'm sure everything's gonna look even better, but honestly, I thought it was top notch. One of the best practical effects that I've seen. I mean, we were just talking about last week's episode, Fright Night, how fantastic the practical effects were and all that, and the
Hmm.
lighting and the atmosphere. So it's great to be able to have this one, like this episode, right after that one. It's like a perfect pairing between practical effects and definitely making you feel like, huh, like this place is definitely haunted and it's not just some set or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it holds up. It holds up. And I think now that you've seen it, I'll ask you, where does it land for you in the party horror spectrum with other movies, kind of like Return of the Living Dead, um, Evil Dead 1 and 2, movies that have like campiness but are also like fun party horror movies.
I mean, I think it's there, man. I mean, I know I feel like this one it's more compatible to me to because I am a bit rusty with Evil Dead franchise, except watching the new remakes and stuff. But recently watching Return of the Living Dead not too long ago, um, it goes hand in hand. I would even say it would be a great double feature. And we'll talk about the recommendation stuff later on, but it's just saying with this question, like and again, having the girl from this film in Return of the Living Dead is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I would have not guessed it. I mean, it's crazy what they could do with different clothes or lack of, um, and then makeup and all that. They could turn somebody into somebody else completely, but it's it was there. I mean, as far as for the party aspect, at least for this movie, the beginning was definitely a party up until everything shit hits the fan, and then it's just party's over. Return of the Living Dead felt kind of similar. I felt like the parting with Return of the Living Dead, especially that cemetery scene, like I felt like it lasted quite a while. But yeah, it definitely holds up well with this type of party horror genre. What about you?
Yeah, it's always held up for me. Yeah, Return of the Living Dead is probably the movie to talk about the most compared to this one, in my opinion. Also, I'm actually about to rewatch that one because I just bought the 4K recently. But I've always had it. That's a movie I grew up with, just like this one. Probably saw it around the same time. Just renting them on VHS, catching up as a mid-teen and watching all these movies. So yeah, I think it holds up. I'm an Evil Dead fan. I consider myself an Evil Dead fan because I like the movies, but I think the word fan also means it's short for fanatic. So I wouldn't say I'm a fanatic of Evil Dead, but I do like the movies. But I did grow up more on this one and Return of the Living Dead and stuff. But I think Sam Raimi is a great director and I like his movies. But yeah, I think it definitely stands up there. I would put it up there with Return of the Living Dead as those two. But it definitely stays in the horror party spectrum for sure.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, again, with the music that goes on in this film, I thought it was fantastic. I would love to be able to find a soundtrack for it to kind of be able to jam out because it's man, like 80s, 90s, like music is just something about it, man. It feels good.
Yeah.
But as far as for because I wanted to ask you, what if anything dates the movie, or what still feels timeless to you?
Well, I think what dates it is the dialogue.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the way the kids talk and stuff. Things have changed, but that's normal. You make a movie today, in 20 years, it's going to be dated as far as dialogue. It's just that's a normal progression of life and things. But that's okay. I've never been. I could watch a movie from the 60s, 50s. If a movie's good, it's good. I don't care if the dialogue sounds a little different to what the way that we speak in present day. So yeah, I mean, that dates it a little bit normal, and then I still what's timeless about it? Well, I think it's always just the Halloween aspect of it, just friends getting together and wanting to party on Halloween, and young kids are always gonna want to get together and drink and do all this type of thing. So that's pretty timeless. I think that's something that's always gonna be around. Obviously, Halloween's always gonna be around, but I mean, like people wanting to party on Halloween, kids wanting to sneak out and do something stupid or crazy on Halloween. That's pretty timeless, and I think that's always gonna be there. What about for you?
I you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think between the language was definitely different. Obviously, especially having like Stooge, the way he was talking to his friend, that I don't really see. I mean, I know it happens still, but I don't see it, witness it like that. And I think obviously the technology, like it's just them listening to the radio instead of like somebody having like a CD or Spotify. Again, like the cell phone, since they're kind of trapped there and not being able to just pull out your phone and be like, "Hey, help." So I think that's really the only thing that aged it for me. Um, and obviously the styles were a bit different. Like what the girls were. Well, actually, no, I won't say they wouldn't do this day and age because we have kind of worse now. I was gonna say it's like girls wouldn't just bend down to distract clerks to steal shit. But I mean, we have so many people on OnlyFans now, so it's kind of like, no,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's a lot worse going on than just something as innocent as that. Um, but yeah, I think that's what ages it as far as for like we touched upon the practical effects and the makeup. I mean, that held up so well. I thought it was fantastic. The kills were creative. It's just it's one of those things. I mean, I want to even say that the practical effects and makeup and the kills could be some of the best ones up until now. There's so many horror movies out now that the creativity is not fully there. I mean, I just watched the I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new one on the requel or whatever. And imagine a movie like that with the budget, the cast that it has, and the kills are not nearly as gruesome or creative as a film like this was. I'm sure it's like you mentioned, it only had two different states that it was showing at the time, and I'm sure the budget was way lower than this one. Um, and the fact that they had what they had to make the film and they were able to do such a better job compared to the technology that we have now and the creativity and the minds that we have now for these scripts and for these horror movies. So it goes to show, man. It goes to show that just with the right idea, a movie like this could just completely be timeless and it could still keep up to this day and age. Especially, if I'm assuming 4K looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Yeah, I mean, I think the Blu-ray looks really good too. But yeah, of course, the 4K with the colors a little bit more in depth. But yeah, I think, and it's funny talking about being timeless. Also, it's just, yeah, little differences like you said with the technology and the music. And I think nowadays, yeah, they would just get a speaker, connect their phones to it, listen to Apple Music, Spotify, and probably ain't gonna be listening to rock. The main popular genres now is like as always pop and hip hop and stuff like that now. So, but yeah, those are just little things. I think
Yeah.
the 2009 one probably did some of those changes. And I guess you could always say, we all got cell phones, but of course, once you cross that wall, it's a dead zone. None of the phones would have worked and stuff like that. But you could always try to do that. And as I always say, if you're gonna remake a movie, and that movie, the technology has changed enough that it wouldn't work nowadays, like a Home Alone, then just have it take place in the same place in the 80s or the 90s, the 70s again, and then you won't have that problem.
Dude, I mean, and people really can. They need to understand, because I did a live stream yesterday talking about The Witch, um, and with the right research, yeah, with the right tools, you could definitely recreate timepieces very well. I mean, and just real quickly, like it's a perfect example. The reason I bring up that film is because I it was my first time watching it. I mean, for years, it came out 2015. I hadn't seen it in 10 years. But I've heard so much. I was like, I gotta watch it, gotta talk about it. And the fact that what went into making this film, for one, it was all natural lighting, all natural. It was either moonlight or candles. They did not use like any technology to make the film because they wanted it to look like a timepiece. And then the fact that the language itself, everything that they were talking, the way they were talking, the words that they were using were actual things written, journals, diaries from back of during those times. So it went 4 years of dialogue research to be able to like understand how to make the film and how to make them talk properly and set everything up. But that goes to show as an example, it's like, man, you could really make a timepiece if you put in the dedication and the passion into it. And there's no real excuse. I mean, to be able to film with just candlelight an entire film, like, I mean, come on, like, even us filming this, like, it's just a nightmare sometimes setting up the lighting, you're there forever trying to record yourself, and then they're sitting there with just candles, making a production
Mhm.
like that, but, I mean, yeah, man, it's I just wanted to throw that in there because I thought it was a good example of, sometimes less is more, and in movies like this, it just all you need is a good idea and some good, decent practical effects, and just you're all set. But I and it's funny we're also talking about because this is completely separate, but we're talking about you mentioning the 2009 remake and like the technology and how they probably made up for it compared to this original. But I did look in and obviously Shannon Elizabeth is in the movie starring with Edward Furlong, and I thought it was kind of funny because we see her in 13 Ghosts, we see her in kind of a few horror movies, and they always use her as a stand-in to kind of be topless in all these movies. So it's funny that they would use her for the remake because I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming probably there's some type of nude scene because they always usually that's her like MO. It's obviously American Pie, 13 Ghosts, and all those movies. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I can't remember if she does or if she doesn't, to be honest.
it was so bad
Um,
you blacked it out. You're like, you know what?
well, it's been since
Yeah.
2009. I never saw it again, and I've watched hundreds and hundreds of movies a year, so I just can't remember it. I remember I didn't like it, but other than that, I can't really. It didn't have the charisma of this one for sure.
You're like, I don't remember what they said, but I know how they made me feel, and it was terrible.
Yeah, I checked my IMDb score from back in the day, and I saw that I gave it a 4 or a 3 or something.
Well, dude, I want to ask you about the cast selection. We obviously have our kind of our issues with Stooge's character. We've already talked about that. Um, everybody else on here, is there anyone that you felt that didn't have to be in the film, either as a character, or was there an actor that you felt that they could have had somebody else play a certain role?
No, I liked it all the way through. I mean, this is a movie with only 10 actors in it. 10 people at the party, and that's pretty much it. Like we mentioned earlier, outside of the old grumpy man and his wife. So you got about 12 people total in this movie. Well, and the two clerks. So there's very little actors in it. And I think the party was just cast really well. I mean, yeah, sure. I thought some of the acting chops weren't 100% there for some of these guys yet. But, it's a craft, and, you get better as you get older. And sometimes you might have that spark that the production needs or wants for you to
Yeah.
be in the movie. But I do like the that we have all types of people in this movie. I really like the casting of, you have all, it's just they did a good job blending everyone in. You have, Asian, Hispanics, black, white, everybody's in here, and the representation is really what I was trying to say. It's really well. So I thought everyone did really well in it, and for being in the 80s and stuff, trying to not only cast this different representation, but also just having the black dude survive all the way to the end is great. I think all that stuff really factors into it. This movie was trying to do something a little different for the times, so I think the casting is spot on.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I agree, man. I honestly, I again, first time watch, I thought that everybody did great. I couldn't think, especially during that time, I can't think of anybody replacing anyone. I mean, obviously, role, each character in the film had their moment and why they had to be there. We had the seductive girl right off the bat from the very beginning. We have the seductive friend that's just trying to hook up with somebody. We have the kind of like the goth girl. We have the jock. We have the bad boy. We have the obnoxious like group. It reminded me of this was like a horror movie, uh, like a Dazed and Confused, but if it was horror, like,
Hmm.
if you notice, like, the different little clicks and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
One thing I do wanna say that I appreciated with this type of film, and I've noticed a lot with these older films as of late, it's that every single oh, sorry. Every single person, like, every single character in here was different. Right? You could tell that again, like the jock kind of have like a little bit of the nerd. You have the bad boy. You have the loose girl. You have the goth, and then you have kind of like the comedy relief and stuff. But they all did so well, dude, because it was amazing to see that even though they were all different, you could still merge them together and they could all still hang out and be friends. And I feel like that was such a representation during those times, especially during the like early 90s and stuff like that, where it was just, dude, it was so different like than now. I feel like now everybody's kind of like doing more of their own thing compared to back then. It's like no matter what you were into, you were kind of still hanging out together. So I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. But as far as for like the atmosphere, right? Kind of like the fog and the darkness and the lighting. How'd you feel about that? Like in the film, do you feel like they could have done a little bit more like Fright Night, or do you feel like it was okay?
Well, Fright Night does its thing. It's like we called it last week. It's like it has more fog than the fog, which was great. No, I think this movie, yeah, funny enough, I think it probably could have added a little more fog, but no, it had a good amount. I thought the atmosphere was great. I love the house, the production design of the house. Um, I thought everything from the outside looked great. Yeah, it looked a little bit like when they're like walking around that big wall. There was some, like, it felt like something was missing a little bit. I think they could have added a little more to it. Just felt a little plain. But outside of that, I thought everything, as far as everyone was wearing the costumes, the production, it's all pretty good, man. I mean, it's a low budget $1.2 million movie. And from what they had, I think they pulled off. I think they pulled it off pretty well.
Dude, yeah, no, I agree. I definitely felt like when he got to that wall, it felt a little off. Um,
Yeah.
but like especially with the barbed wire, that was like an interesting. I wish the barbed wire would have been a little bit more noticeable because at first you can't really tell. It looks like a vine or something until obviously the camera gets close. I'm sure with the 4K it probably shows it a little bit better, a little bit more detail. Um, but besides that, I do want to talk about the old man. You know, we kind of that's more towards the end, and I want to leave that to you. Kind of describe it to the audience if in case they don't remember. Because dude, that scene, I remember growing up, and I remember always hearing about that. They're like, "Be careful with the candy, be careful with the
Yeah.
apples," and I always wondered. I would hear stories and stuff, and I'd never seen it in a movie before up until this one and I was like, "Oh shit, that's what they were talking about when we were kids." So, like, dude, take us through that, man. Like, wow.
Yeah, the old man kind of comes out of nowhere in this movie. It's like, why you wonder, why is he there, right? Like, there's you see him kind of be picked on, and
Yeah,
then they mess with him, they scare him. People pass by, scare him because it's Halloween night, and then eventually he drops. This guy scared him, and he drops his food. And this is where we get introduced by Judy, and Judy tries to help him pick up, and she's like, "Get away from me, you damn kids! I hate you all!" And he's picking up apples and stuff, and then he starts laughing because he has razors and apples in his hand, and then we really don't see him again until the final shot of the movie, where it's morning and his wife is like, "Oh, I made you breakfast," and he's like, "Oh yeah, you had all these leftover apples," and she's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, okay, from last night." He's like, "Really, we have all these apples left?" And he swallows and he starts making the noise, and it's really cool practical effect where the blade comes out of his throat, and he just starts bleeding everywhere, and he falls into his plate. And then it almost feels like, oh, it doesn't. I guess it is. His wife did it on purpose. She didn't like him either because he was such a grumpy old man. And then she just pats him on the back and says, "Oh yeah, be careful what you eat." I forgot exactly what she says. And yeah, I guess this guy was passing out those apples full of razor blades, and he didn't give them all out, and his wife fed it to him too. It's pretty crazy to think he would. I mean, he's so grumpy that he would like want to kill kids, though. That's crazy.
dude. Yeah, I kept thinking, I was like, that was just like a random thing. I know they were trying to introduce a character, Um, but that was just random as hell with that old man, especially the way they ended it. It really reminded me of like the Trick or Treat movie. It felt like it was one of those stories in the film
Yeah,
of some character. But dude, that scene was brutal, man. Like just watching it, like I felt like my throat hurt just watching that scene and the razors cutting through. I was like, dude,
yeah,
I can only imagine how much that would hurt. But I did found interesting is like if you were to eat a razor, you would kind of know. I mean, for some of us, if we
yeah.
were taking like a supplement, a pill or something, you notice it when you're swallowing it down. But to actually swallow a razor and then have a conversation and then like
Because yeah.
a few minutes later cuts you, it was kind of like, they should have done it a lot sooner. Like he starts choking and then she's saying that as he's like choking. Um, but again, that's nitpickiness. That's not, I mean, they still did a fantastic job with that.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's funny because it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like this is what happened. They shot the movie and they said, okay, this movie needs to at least, without credits, run at least like an hour 26, because it ends like about an hour 26. And
yeah.
it's like, and this movie is like, oh, it ends like at an hour 20. We need an extra 6 minutes or something. And like, okay, well, why don't we just add an old man to the beginning of it, and then at the end we add him again to get what's coming to him, and we just kind of add that as a little Halloween treat, because it's like a Halloween thing. Like you
Yeah.
said, it does feel like it fits more in Trick or Treat than in this. Even though this came out before, it almost feels like the director of Trick or Treat and writer were like, I kind of like that scene, and we could make a whole movie out of this, like segments of Halloween or something. But I think it works in the movie, but it does feel a little out of place, and it does feel like it was added there just to make the movie just a tad longer, so it wasn't too short. But it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely once he did that with the whole razors, I kept thinking throughout the entire movie, I was like, how's this going to play out? Like, is the little brother gonna get an apple and die from it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, obviously
Mm.
we're introduced to him, and he's a little kid, and he's gonna go trick or treating. He's excited with his mask. So I kept thinking after a while, obviously throughout the film with everything that happens, I completely forgot until the end, and I was like, oh yeah, the old man. That's right.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe he would have something to do with the demon stuff, but nothing. Like it just had nothing to do with anything, dude.
Yeah.
It felt like some Twilight Zone thing. Um,
Mhm.
but dude, I do want to talk about quick little, nothing crazy, just quick little fun facts behind the scenes stuff. Um, there's obviously we did talk about the remake, Shannon Elizabeth and Edward Furlong being in it. And then you did talk about the animation earlier. And it's cool because the opening credits were actually hand drawn to capture that comic book type vibe. um, so that's awesome, dude, that they, again, instead of using some sort of like AI or using some type of CGI or anything crazy, like they literally hand drew stuff just for this film. And obviously it didn't exist at the time, so that's all they had. But I think what really gets me is the original name for this film. Originally
Yeah.
they pitched it as Halloween Party. Do you think that if it would have gone with that route, it would have been like it would have got more people viewing it? Obviously, we discussed already it only showing in 2 cities, but do you think that would have drawn a crowd in more, or not?
No, I think that honestly, Halloween Party to me sounds one that I actually read that they did change the name because it was too close to the actual Halloween movies, and they just wanted to, have not be associated with it. And I think Night of the Demons is a way better title.
Yeah.
Halloween Party to me sounds like a Disney
Yeah.
movie, like this, not even Disney in theaters. It's like a Disney Channel movie, like those Halloweeny Town, like little movies like that they made. That's what it sounds like to me. So I think I'm glad that they didn't go with that, and they changed it to Night of the Demons. It sounds better, more adult, and it fits the movie a lot better.
Dude, imagine like you go into this film like, oh, Halloween party. That sounds like fun. Take the kids, and then just see all you see is like titties and death. And it's like, I mean, the first, like literally when the movie first starts, it's like you're exposing your kid to like some girl's like ass, and it's like, oh, great. Um,
you
but
got you got to walk out. Wrong movie, kids.
yeah, they're like, sorry, and then the dad's like, I'm just gonna stay here. We already
Yeah,
paid for the ticket.
yeah,
But
yeah. You take her to that Disney movie.
yeah,
I'll see what this party's about.
yeah, this freaking dude, it sounds like do you remember those CDs or soundtracks back in the day where it's like Halloween Party version 2, and you put
Oh
in the
yeah,
CD for the part. That's what it sounds like to me. Like so I'm really glad that they went with Night of the Demons. It sounds so damn cool. Um and for the longest time it actually the name did confuse me a little bit between this one and then Demons, the movie that takes place like in the movie theater
yeah.
and stuff. So I always thought I would always get confused between the two. And then we have Night of the there's another one that Shout released.
Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps. That's another one too. That's kind of like Night of the Demons, Night of the Creeps.
Well,
Um
even Demon Knight, right? I mean,
yeah,
Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, which
yeah.
the night is spelled like a night, not with an N, it's with a K, but still, it still gets a little bit like Demon Knight, the Night of the Demons,
Dude, till
demons.
till this day, whenever I say Demon Knight, I always forget that there's a K, like night. It's just I always think it's just night. And I remember when I was making the thumbnail for us for that episode, that I misspelled it, and I was like, shit, I got to go back and fix it. Um, but guys, if you're interested in watching that episode, we did a podcast on that. So if you're enjoying this one, it's there. We'll talk a little bit more on it, and I'll link everything at the end and stuff. So just stick to the very end, and you'll have the pop up with the playlist and all that good stuff. Um, but dude, there was one more fun fact that I wanted to bring up, and it was Angela's dance scene. We touched on it earlier, how awesome it was, the music, and the set that was used, like the song that was used for Angela's scene. It was to Bauhaus, and the name of the song, which I think it's so perfect for this film and what happens to her, is called Stigmata Martyr.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that's incredible because obviously Stigmata, like we've all seen, I think for the most part, most of us have seen the original movie Stigmata, and it has to deal with possession and stuff, which she gets possessed in the film, but then the martyr. And I thought it was such a cool thing. Like the music that's playing and everything and the whole possession thing. It was kind of like a nice little subtle touch that most people probably might not catch. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, because I was trying to look, 'cause there's a lot of stuff that I did watch the special features of this movie when I got it last year, but I kind of forgot a lot of it by now. So a lot of the little fun facts that I threw around while we did it is kind of what I had, and then what you just added now, is all I could remember. So I don't know if you're ready, because I'm excited to hear the rating for this, especially on your end, since it's your first time.
oh, dude, no, absolutely. Is there anything before we jump into the range? Is there anything you remember of like them having any issues on set or anything like that? Or from what you remember, like from the top of your head, do you remember like for the most part everything was kind of smooth with recording the film?
No, because the thing is, I'm confusing the special features with another movie, and I can't remember which one it is. There's a movie, and that's why I'll be kind of like, it does. I don't think it pertains to this one, where they
Okay.
they they did something, and I was like, happy, but it wasn't this one. So I was like, I got mixed up with it. I was gonna say it, and I was like, no, no, it wasn't Night of the Demons, but I can't put my finger on which one it was.
Can't put your finger in it. No. No, no worries, dude. Well, I mean, I guess yeah, that's it. And again, I mean, for me, I mean, guys, it's this movie's about an hour and 26 minutes. It's such a quick little throw it on, have fun with it. There's no complex plot really. It's pretty straightforward. Um, there is something there. Oh, you know what? There's something I just remembered I want to bring up. Um, I thought the whole burial ground story, when they're explaining it in the film, and like that dude, he was just kind of nerdy, but it was just fun to see that he was very obsessed with like the history and stuff. And he was saying, he's like, oh, back in the day when he's standing near the wall, he's like, this was like some type of burial ground or something, and it's supposed to be cursed. And the water that runs underground, it's supposed to protect, like keep the demons at bay or the evil spirits.
Yeah,
I thought that like lore and that story what really made the movie fun, because I'm a sucker for that. Whenever there's some type of like crazy like historical story or lore or something, I'm always getting sucked into it. I mean, I'm a big fan of those type of films, and I absolutely love that. I love that it wasn't just we're conjuring demons. Um, I loved the accuracy of the scribing mirror, because that is a thing where people have black mirrors and they use them for scribing like she was doing, where it's like conjuring like the demon or like the spirits. It's kind of like a Ouija board. I mean, well, no, that's actually exactly what it is. It's a Ouija board, but it's used as a mirror. And I thought that the accuracy that they portrayed in the film was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. Looking into that, I mean, I've heard about it for the longest time, so watching it, I was like, that's cool. That's cool that they went that route, and it wasn't the cheesy like let's pull out a Ouija board like as usual. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't really see that much, like when it comes to scribing and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool. Um, but kind of just wanted to throw that in there. There was one moment that I remember that I felt kind of it was kind of cheesy and didn't make sense. I think towards the end when what is her name again? Sorry guys. I mean with Judy, when Judy and I think Roger, when they're in the boiler room and she opens kind of like that furnace and she pulls out that pipe. I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking to myself, is like, how did she manage to make that pipe so long? Like she just easily pulls out this metal pipe and it kind of uses it as this flamethrower type situation. So I thought that was kind of like a little goofy that it came out the way it did. It almost looked like a hose. And obviously, like I'm no expert with furnaces or anything, but that I was kind of like, huh. I mean, if she would have been standing right in front of it, I thought it would have been a little different, but I thought that was kind of cool with the fire effects. I mean, I know you're a big fan of real flames, as am I. We've
Yeah.
talked about the burning before. So I thought that was really fantastic. Um, dude, I'm trying to think if there was anything else I want to touch on. The as far now, I want to ask you as far as for the layout for the house, did you feel like the layout itself was good? Like, did you feel like it was the way they set everything up, kind of like this maze, where it felt big but also small at the same time? Like, were you happy with that with the set design?
Yeah, no, the set design was nice. I do feel that, yeah, when they come in, you got the big living room. and then as they keep walking, it does always feel like in movies like the hallways become way too long, and there's
Yeah.
that really cool scene with Angela like walking towards them, and the camera catches her, and almost like she's being pushed on a dolly or something, and she's making all these moves and faces. And this is one of the standouts of the movie for me too. But the hallways are probably a little too long for what you see on the outside and stuff. But no, I think it works because you have to do that, in order to kind of provide more, and it doesn't feel so sustained. There's a little bit more space for them to do stuff, and for more action and stuff like that. Yeah, I felt like that sequence, outside of the pipe thing, I felt, if anything, it just drags a little bit.
Yeah.
It takes forever for the demons to come out, even when they take the hedges or whatever, out of the side of the door, like they're still banging on it. And for some reason, it doesn't open until finally, and she's there playing with the lighter for like 4 minutes, and I was like, okay. So yeah, that scene at the end dragged a little bit. I thought the ending was fine, but that scene could have been cut a little bit. If anything, the pacing bothered me more than the pipe thing. But yeah, I get what you mean. But yeah, thought the layout was pretty good. I think part two does a similar thing with it too. It adds a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I mean, once you get to part two, man, it's just like anything. There's just way more characters, more things going on. It's actually even faster paced. It's super short too, so yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe in the future when we do, maybe we'll do like a sequel month of all the movies we've done, and do the sequels, and we'll get to Night of the Demons 2 eventually.
Dude, that'd be great, man. I mean, who knows? Dude, you know what? The way this podcast is going so far, who knows? And maybe we're fortunate enough in the future to get maybe like Angela or one of the cast members to join us and talk about the franchise. I mean,
That
like
would be
cross our
fun.
fingers. Dude, that'd be amazing to relive it and hearing it from them. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's it for the film. Let's freaking let me drum roll here. Let's move on to the movie rating section. Currently on Letterbox, it is running at out of 5 stars, a 3.2. Now,
That's good. That's pretty good.
it's not bad. Now, what are you rating it and why?
So for me, it's a 3 out of 5. With me, with movies, anything above a 3 out of 5, a three and higher is a movie that I like, that I'll rewatch, that I'll buy. Anything under a two is something I probably don't like too much. 2.5, obviously middle of the road. So a three, because I feel like it's a fun movie. It's not a masterpiece. It's not it's not, what's that new cinema that we were talking about it when we did Hereditary. It's not that type of movie, obviously. Of
Yeah,
compared, this is a full on fun movie. Elevated horror is what I was trying to say. This is
yeah,
not that. This is pure fun. Just throw it in, have a good time. This is a fun movie to watch with friends, if you grew up with, especially friends you grew up with and stuff, and you could just, throw it on, have a few drinks, and just enjoy it around Halloween time. And to me, this is one of the only like Halloween movies that take place on Halloween, like I said, that I can watch it at any time of year for some reason. I'm not gonna throw on Halloween in March, but I'll throw on Night of the Demons in March. Yeah, they're partying on Halloween, but it still just doesn't feel like a super Halloween related movie to me. So yeah, 3 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. The actors, it still holds up. The practical effects are great. It's a fun movie, and it's not a bad trilogy, man. I think I used to really not like part three, but when I bought this trilogy from Shout, I actually enjoyed part three more than before, and part two remains my favorite. But this one's a lot of fun. So, how did you feel about it first watch?
first watch right off the bat, I'm giving it a hard 3.5. Um, and I mean, dude, I absolutely loved it. I had such a blast. We talked about it with the Fright Night film, how in the beginning I was like, oh man, and then I started getting into it, my opinion changed drastically. But again, that's another episode from last week. So if you guys want to hear the full opinion, I'm not gonna spoil it, go check it out. But with this one, it was just so much fun. Like it was so much fun. The way it starts, it just really sucks you in. The whole movie, up until for most part of the house, I kept thinking, what's the old man and the apples and the razors? How's that going to play out? It was just a lot. It was a lot of fun. Got to see that cool car, like the Mustang. I think it was like a Mustang. Like, and what else? The music. just people hanging out, from like people from different backgrounds. Again, you have the jocks, you have the emo, the comedians, everybody in between, all just hanging out, having fun, living in the moment until they're not living anymore. Um, Practical effects, top notch. It was just it was great. It had everything. It had everything that an '80s horror campy movie would have. It definitely was good for the most part. It was good, tolerable campy. Obviously, we've talked about one of the main characters that he was pretty annoying. We had Stooge, he freaking one of the three Stooges, but I mean, obviously his character was designed to be that way, to be annoying and this and that. But even with then, there's moments where he does kind of mellow out a little bit and chill and
Mhm.
turns it off. And I thought that was great. So it kind of showed him as more of like showing a face and just kind of maybe some insecurity or maybe something or something's going on. But when he does turn it off, it's like, okay, cool. Like he doesn't seem too bad. And then at that point, you kind of feel a little bad for him. But with that being said, dude, yeah, 3.5. Definitely can't wait to watch it on 4K. Can't wait to own it. Cannot wait to check out the sequel, especially hearing from you that it's your favorite out of the three. So you've set the bar very high, very, very high. So now when I'm watching it, I'm gonna be like, this is Lee's favorite. Now we gotta really like tune in here.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you like this one more than your score's higher, so maybe that one for you would be like a 3, and then that one's a 3.5 for me. Who knows? But yeah, I think it definitely stays in the lane. So if you like this one, I think you'll like enjoy part 2.
Dude, no, that's perfect, man. Well, guys, so you've got the ratings. For Lee, it was a solid 3. For me, it's a 3.5. Let us know if you're watching this on YouTube. Let us know in the comments what you've rated this film and why. If you're listening again on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, same thing. Comment, let us know. If you enjoyed this episode, please take time, just rate us. Helps a lot. Get us out there. So really appreciate you guys listening. But now we're going to move into the movie recommendation section. Obviously, if you enjoyed this film, there's two others. If you've already seen them and you're looking for something similar type genre, slapstick slash punk family, like punk, not family, punk party and Halloween, we've got some recommendations for you. Lee, do you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Yes. So yeah, outside of, I do think recommend, if you like this movie, give part 2 a chance. I can't promise you that you'll like the third one, but the second one should be up there. It's campy, it's fun, it's a '90s horror. It's really, it's got a good cast. I think the acting's a little better in that one. So yeah, I recommend part 2. I recommend The Gate 1 and 2, not just part 1 but part 2. These the suburban kids versus demons thing. I That's another one where I like the second one better than the first. That one, I don't know why, but that one's also in a '90s movie. So I grew up watching part 2 more than part 1, but I have seen part 1 a few times. I recommend the original Leprechaun. I think it could go with this one. They're both campy and they're both fun. So, and the cast, the acting, I don't know. I think they fit pretty well together. And lastly, you got to go with Night of the Creeps, because it's once again, we're just sticking with camp. If you want the camp stuff, watch Leprechaun, watch this, watch Night of the Demons 1 and 2, and the Gate movies. Not as campy, but they fall in with this one pretty well. So we have a few more. Um,
Yeah,
Go ahead,
no.
GC.
No, I mean, dude, those were great recommendations. I think in Leprechaun I wasn't expecting, but it's true. It's like even the practical effects and everything. Like the group, like it's just I think it goes very well together. Again, he's a trickster, he's a funny guy. So it kind of goes pretty well with old Angela here. Now, another one that we mentioned throughout the film, obviously we have the Return of the Living Dead from 1985. We have an alum that was in this film. She's in that one as well. That one's very punk rock, very fun as well. So if you enjoyed this one, you would enjoy that, hopefully. And another one I mentioned earlier, Demons. Pretty much instead of it being in this haunted mortuary type situation, this takes place in a movie theater. I think it's fun, especially if you're somebody that enjoys cinema. This like there's nothing more funner than demons and possessions inside an actual movie theater. So I think it's great. It's from 1985. The practical effects are fantastic. If you're watching that movie on 4K, it looks very, very good. So that's another good recommendation. One that felt like that reminded me of like a film that this movie reminded me of immediately when I saw that old man scene when he's introduced was Trick or Treat from 2007. I think that's a big staple for Halloween for most people. I know it is for me. It's a modern Halloween anthology. So it's a lot of cool stories into one. And it's just if you enjoyed that the whole scene with the apples and the razors and stuff, and you kind of like that random ending for this movie, I think that's the way to go. But I think that's it. I mean, there's Evil Dead 2 from 1987. I'm seeing a pattern of the late 80s. A lot of these fun movies. That one it has to deal with possession as well. Again, that instead of a mortuary or a movie theater, this one takes place in a cabin. It's kind of like a slapstick type possession horror kind of comedy in a way, but it's a cult classic for a reason. So you do have Evil Dead 2, and then you have Evil Dead 1, which obviously, it's another staple out there. So there's our recommendations. I think this week, guys, we came in pretty packed with a lot of movies for you guys to enjoy for spooky season, especially if you're into, possession stuff like this, or even a little bit of zombie stuff like Return of the Living Dead. Now, that's it for the movie recommendations. Guys, we're gonna jump in real quick. Again, this is our sponsor section. We want to thank Valoria Video. They're amazing. So if you are looking to add this movie, Night of the Demons, or all three of them to your collection, to your shrine of physical media, make sure to use code Face the Movies 10 and you get 10% off your order. It's perfect time now to stock up on spooky season. I believe they may have a sale going on. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have a Halloween sale. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're gonna have the barcode and the link and the code showing up on the screen. Obviously, you're seeing it, so I don't have to narrate it. But for this is more for the people listening. So again, code Face the Movies 10, you save 10% off. Valoria Video and amazing people, mom and pop shop. We're trying to support small businesses. Great people. They're always supporting us, supporting the podcast, supporting the channel. So check that out. If they don't for any reason have this movie in stock, don't fret. We have some other partners that are amazing. Monster Mall, Maul. So Monster Mall. You for this one, it's code Face the Movies. Now you get 10% off used titles or $1 off new releases or pre-orders. So you might get lucky and not only find this movie or all three of them used in their inventory, but then not only are you getting a great price with that, you're saving an additional 10%. So take a look at them as well. Again, small business, amazing people. They're all friends, which is great. So it's always awesome to see. But yeah, you have Valoria Video, Monster Mall, Face the Movies 10 for Valoria, Face the Movies for Monster Mall. And if you guys are watching, thank you for supporting us as always. You guys are amazing. Love you guys.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I mean, that's it for our dive into Night of the Demons. Proof that nothing good happens after a seance.
Yes, and make sure to tell us your favorite gag from the movie and which sequel or remake, if any, works for you.
Guys, make sure to follow me on Face the Movies on my YouTube channel and Instagram. I also have my letterbox. I've been religiously as of like this last month updating everything that I've seen, rating everything. I really want to get good with that. The podcast definitely helped keep me accountable for it. Um, but check me out on there. I have a cinema rewind series every week on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. So if you're enjoying this episodes, check that out as well. I have two of my buddies, my co-hosts. We usually have a special guest. We just recorded yesterday, which was Tuesday the Witch live. Fantastic. So we had an amazing guest on there. So go ahead and check that out if it's something interests you. And obviously, please let's get Lee to 100 subscribers already, guys. Let's go follow and subscribe to Lee and Cinema Whiplash, both Instagram, YouTube. He has IMDb. He has a letterbox. But go ahead and just support my buddy. I mean, I've known him forever, and let's get him up there.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys for spending not only spooky season October with us, but just know that we're gonna go year round with horror. So if you get depressed, because I know a lot of people put out a lot of stuff, which makes sense for October for horror, but we're a horror podcast, so we're gonna be going all year round. So don't worry, Well, once October's over, we're still gonna keep going and feed you guys some great horror movies throughout the rest of the holidays. And so, thank you for spending another Friday night with us at Friday Night Fright Night.
That's right, guys. And it's not just serious horror. We got horror comedy, as you see. We got horror of all sorts. So, if certain genres not for you, just stick with us. We've got a little bit for everybody. But always remember, guys, keep the lights low, the volume high, and don't party in mortuaries. Guys, we'll see you next week.
See you next time.